Repenting, reflecting, reasoning, reckoning.
The Huddle with paperplusoffice.co.nz. Buy all your office supplies and stationery online now.
It is now 20 to 6 and NewstalkZB. Josie Pagani is with us once again. Hello, Josie.
Hello, Larry.
Lovely to talk to you. And Cameron Slater from Whale Oil. Hello, Cam.
Welcome back, Larry.
Thank you, Cam. And Josie, this one to you first. Months out from a by-election in Christchurch East, Labour Party faithful are already putting their hands up. Apparently Clayton Cosgrove may be in there, where party activist James Cagle. What do you see in this? Mr Shearer is today apparently talking Labour's chances down. How do you view it?
Well, that's always good politics, to talk it down. Although, he's got a point that Labour did lose the party vote pretty badly in Christchurch East in the last election. So Leanne Dalzell will have had a personal vote. So, it's not a foregone conclusion, although I would say a lot of that public opinion since the rebuild, or the so-called rebuild, probably has swung back to Labour, but it's still going to be a really interesting by-election. In terms of the sort of fight for the nomination in Labour, well, there's always a fight for a safe seat or a supposed safe seat. That's a healthy thing. I stood in one myself in Mana, and the more that you see good candidates coming forward wanting to represent the Labour Party, that's a good look across the country. So I don't see any sign in that, except that it's good to see that there are strong candidates who want to stand.
Cam, Leanne Dalzell had a 5,000 majority last time round. National, it's true, won the party vote. Do you really see National being a threat in this by-election?
No, I don't think anyone sees National as being a threat. And with the by-election, I think National may even struggle to get a decent candidate who wants to cop a flogging. But the reality of
it's always Aaron Gilmore.
Well, that's interesting because today there is a hint that Aaron Gilmore may stand. Obviously, it won't be for National, but
let's see how he gets on. I imagine it'll be as spectacular as his career. But the bottom line, though, is the bottom line with Christchurch East is it's kind of a dead rubber because the seat's going to cease to exist after the boundary redraw, and large chunks of the electorate simply don't exist anymore in that seat. So, yes, it's a by-election. Good on Leanne Dalzell for actually fronting up and saying that she's going to resign. I'd like to see Ross Robertson do the same thing in Manukau. Actually,
that's a point. Cam's got a point there, Larry, that a lot of the people who've left Christchurch too were Labour voters, and a lot of the seats that in the red zone were, Labour seats. So. Labour is going to struggle there, and it's not that National will be a serious contender to win it, but it's really how much Labour can win it. I think they've got to put in a strong candidate like Clayton Cosgrove, who's he's a proven performer. He's got a bit of mongrel in him. He knows how to campaign, and he's well known.
But won't the locals in Christchurch consider almost anybody who's outside of the city boundaries a carpetbagger? And Clayton would certainly qualify as that, coming from Waimakariri.
Except that I think the whole political landscape has so changed in Christchurch since the earthquake that anyone who's seen as someone who can fight for the rights of residents who are trying to get their houses rebuilt will be seen as a godsend. But I expect that you'll see a woman jump in there because Labour Party needs to see more women come up. So I'm sure there'll be some candidate who comes in with the backing of the Women's Caucus. And you could well see some other candidates come through too. Neither Clayton Cosgrove nor James Cagle will be a first choice for the unions. So there could well be a candidate that comes up with the union support too.
Come back in just a moment, Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater on the Huddle. NewstalkZB, it's 16 to 6.
Larry Williams Drive with the new ANZ, the bank that gives you more.
Back on the Huddle, Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater. Issue number 2, Cameron. The fallout from Edward Snowden's information bomb continues. He's gone to Moscow, he's going to Cuba, and he looks like he wants asylum in Ecuador. How do you see this?
I think he's a dirty little snitch who took the pay of the government and then decided to squeal about something that everyone pretty much knew everything about anyway. And then he's done a runner to Hong Kong, sat there bizarrely thinking the Chinese are going to protect him when they're the biggest snitches of everyone in the world with their technology companies. They spy on their own population. And he thought they were going to save him. I think they went and had a nice quiet chat with him at his safe house, suggested to him that just as soon as the Americans got their documents in line, he was on a flight back to the US.
Well, that's true, isn't it, Josie?
He might like to fly out to Russia.
Right. Last week he was going to stay, but clearly there is an extradition treaty between the United States and Hong Kong. He was going to go eventually anyway.
Yeah, and look at the countries he's choosing too. I mean, these are all countries that have tense relationships at best with the US. So now his problem is looking like it's 10% legal, 90% political, because US diplomats and politicians from all of these other countries are going to be in intense negotiations with the US over extradition when they should be focused on other stuff. You know, this isn't the most important thing happening in the world. But I do wonder if he's having second thoughts about Ecuador.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of the facts about it. It sounds like a cross between Beavis and Butthead and militant green politics. The creator of Beavis and Butthead is Ecuadorian. He's from Ecuador. The police themselves took the president hostage a few years ago to protest against cuts. They export more bananas than any other country. They eat guinea pigs. And their latest
There's
constitution...
nothing wrong with guinea pigs. It's a high-protein diet and low fat.
Well,
the bottom line for Hong Kong, though, Josie, is that they're focused on business and Snowden was affecting business. See you later. Actually,
I don't think Ecuador has necessarily said yes to him yet, have they? I mean, he's seeking extradition. Why none of these, like Julian Assange is the same, why they don't just face the music and come and argue their case?
Because they're chickens.
If they've had the courage to do what they do. I mean, the other way of looking at it is that I think the US has created a problem for itself by having these lunatically long sentences. Like, if he was facing 2 or 3 years, then he probably would go back. He'd see himself as a prisoner of conscience. But if he's facing life in prison, well, you know...
Well, they're all the same, though. Kim.com's the same. He won't go and face the music either. They're all chickens, and they like to hide in foreign countries.
Issue 3, Josie, is Labour in Australia appear to be imploding. They are about to be obliterated, according to the polls. More talk about Gillard either leaving or being rolled by Rudd. What do you see?
Yeah, I think there could well be a caucus vote on Thursday, actually. There's no way she can recover from here. And her supporters are reduced to arguing that no one else can. And one Australian commentator, I thought, summed it up perfectly. He said, look, we've decided to dump our leader to bring back the one we dumped to get her in, even though we've all said we can't work with him. So vote for us, we're credible and competent.
I think you read that on Whale Oil, Josie. I blogged that this morning.
I do read Whale Oil, Ken, but I do read other avenues of opinion to get a balanced point of view.
But I don't think Rudd will put his hand up here. I think he'll let it crash and burn. He'll be the last man standing. I think he'll be the only MP left in Queensland. Julia Gillard has massive problems. We've got the police in Victoria now combing through the Australia Workers' Union, which she represented, over corruption issues. You've got the ongoing Independent Commission against Corruption cases in New South Wales with Labor. I think we're witnessing here the long, slow and rather bloody death of the Labor Party in Australia.
Thank you for that, Cameron Slater and Josie Pagani on the Huddle NewstalkZB Murray Deaker in just a moment. It's now 9 to 6.